review. Book one I want to tell about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy strategies who proves CX is everyone's job, no other than Miss Abisola Fagbiye.
Yay.
Welcome on Book 101, Miss Abisola.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Abisola Fagbiye. I'm a customer experience strategist. I've been in this space for about a decade. I have gone through multiple layers of my career, including working in different industries. I currently work in tech, but I have dabbled in real estate. I actually have a first degree in that. And then I have also explored in bilateral relations between two countries actually, and before moving into the Microsoft ecosystem. But all of my career has been interfacing with customers at different levels, whether B2B, B2C, small businesses, enterprise clients. What has been consistent is that interaction with clients that I've always done. And it has shaped how I view everything. So all of my lenses are now formed and shaped through the customer's experience.
Miss Abisola Fabie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the future of work meets the future of customs or customers. Tell us what or how does the future of work directly dictate the shape of the future customers?
So the future of work is going to be very interesting. I don't think we can correctly predict what would happen because of how much is changing and how much has changed in the last 3 years. So the future of work will continue to be dynamic, as we are seeing it currently being dynamic right now. Things will change very rapidly. There will be a lot of learning and a lot of catch up to do, and those who will stay afloat, who will, you know, be able to stay ahead of the curve, will be those who are unlearning, relearning, and just doing things differently. So there is very little prediction we can say or can say that this is what is going to happen, but we're going to see things moving rapidly as we have started seeing from the last 5 years.
What is the biggest point of tension between what employees now demand for their workplace and what is customers demand from their buying experience?
So, good choice. I mean, good point when you start talking about the employees as well as the customers, because we're seeing more and more that there is a very strong relationship between the employee's experience and the customer's experience. So, everything around culture internally, everything around perception internally carries some weight and carries over into the interactions with the customer. So we are beginning to see, and in some instances, people are coining the term not just the employee experience or the customer experience. And so we are looking at it from larger lenses and calling it the human experience. Because in some places you are an employee, and then in some other places you are the customer. So at every point you are interfacing from either the standpoint of the employee or the standpoint of the customer. So we are beginning to see more and more of that strong symbiotic relationship between the employee's experience as well as the customer's experience.
And tell us, Miss, what is or in this new paradigm, is the customer still always right, or does employee well-being hold equal weight in the equation? How do you balance the two?
Is the customer always right? Yes and no. So, yes, in the sense that you obviously at all times want to give the best possible service that they can have and the best possible experience as seamless and as frictionless as possible. But you must realize that in some instances, you must be able to say no, and you must be able to defend whatever it is that your brand is doing and your brand stands for. You're obviously not going to do anything unethical. So that's what no will come in there. If you're doing things that are not morally right, if you're doing things that are not, legal, and customers are asking for that, you obviously have to say no. So in the big sense, we cannot say that customers are always right, because there will be times where you have to put your foot down and say no. But in some instances where there is a wow factor that you want to introduce, there is the element of surprise that you want to introduce. Yes, in those parts and in those bits and pieces, the customer might be right.
Yes, in both ways, people, for sure. And on technology and human element, AI is a huge driver of change on both sides. How is AI simultaneously reshaping employees' roles and creating a new set of customer expectations that companies must now meet?
We cannot shy away from the AI conversation. I would be surprised if we had gone through this entire session without mentioning AI. So AI is such a big driver. It is at the forefront. So how that is shaping how we are experiencing things, how customers are experiencing things, and people on the other side of the divide as employees giving that experience will be one, a lot of the analytics that we are seeing and we are getting, we are going to have to use AI to understudy it, to understand it, and to be able to turn that around. We're also going to be using AI a lot, and I'm sure you're seeing that a lot in chatbots and the rest. But there's also the introduction of the human element into AI. There's also AI that will be introduced in things like uh, just AI as a standalone bot where they are replacing humans and where they are in some sort of ways avatars where people can interact with. Say if it's going to be outside your work hours or things like that, where you have set up, AI to do that interaction. So we will see that, beginning to pick up. We're going to see AI in things like I've already mentioned, analysis. We're going to see AI in managing a lot of data. We are in a season where it is, there's so much data, and in the last 3 to 5 years, we have amassed an incredible amount of data. So it's not the time to just get more data, it's a time to take on the data that already exists and use that to personalize. So we're going to see a lot more personalization in our interactions. So personalization, not just the standard chuck someone's name into an email. No, that's not the kind of thing we're looking for and we're talking about. We're going to see AI personalizing things from your journeys, from your experiences, from the things that you're looking for or you're looking at, say, on the internet. That will begin to shape what we would call as the customer persona or the persona for that um, particular solution or product. So we're going to see AI doing quite a bit of, or we're going to see ourselves introducing AI into a lot of personalization, into making sure that things are tailored and are honed into the people that we are serving. So it wouldn't just be AI replacing us as humans. No, there will be again that hand holding of humans and AI delivering impeccable service.
Miss Abisola, with the rise of remote and hybrid work, how can companies ensure that distributed workforce still delivers a seamless, empathic, and connected customer experience?
I mean, with the advent of, or sadly, with COVID coming through, it did remarkably change how we work. And so there has been, so drastic a change in how, I mean, we're all going into the office 6 years ago and all of that, and 2020 that just changed, and we had to all jump into a new way of work. Now, obviously, some businesses are still fully remote. Some are going back into the office. Some are hybrid. People are opting, to take on hybrid or the rest. But that will not in any way change how customers and the experiences are framed or are shaped. Because whether you're sitting in the office or whether you're working remotely, or whether you're at home, it isn't going to change how customers' experience will be shaped or framed. And customers on the other side are not, getting the experiences based off of where, in terms of location, you are delivering that service from. So there's going to be a lot of work that would continue being put in, but it wouldn't be location based. So whether you're hybrid or whether you're remote will not affect the experiences that are being shaped and are being framed for users.
Miss Abisola, how about for customer? What will be the most noticeable difference for the experience in 3 to 5 years as a direct result of how companies have changed how they work internally?
In 3 to 5 years, like I said, an accurate prediction may not be something we're able to do now because there's so much changing. And like I said, in the last 3 years, again, with the advent of ChatGPT and the rest, have drastically changed things. So, what customers would expect in 3 years or in 5 years, if we do an actual prediction, we might fall short of that. So it's almost like if you reach for the stars, you fall on the earth. We might actually fall short in some way. And so the idea of just doing a futuristic prediction 3 to 5 years out may not be what we should be looking at, because I think GPT-5 came out just a couple of, was it last month or so? Another version is going to come out very soon that will drastically change things. So if at some point we are looking at what is right here and what is right in front of our nose, and maybe just project a couple of months out, that might help us to be able to, shape those experiences better. And there's something we must be conscious about, that customers are not benchmarking experiences based off on industries. So it wouldn't be, I'm benchmarking my, say, my call service provider one against another. It will be, I am going to benchmark whatever experience I get now against the last experience I got, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the service. So it is so broad if you think about how your competitors are not just within your industry, but across all verticals. So allowing ourselves to just do a futuristic projection 3 to 5 years, we would fall short, because industries that we have no control over are changing so much. And even the one that we do have an insight into is not exhaustive. So let's keep it in, you know. Let's look at what it will be by the end of the year. Let's look at what it will be by the turn of 2026. What is projected to come out. And then by the time we get into those seasons, then we can be able to accurately project, say, what's in front of us in another 12 months.
Miss Abisola, as an entrepreneur strategies, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Sorry, say that again.
What are your short-term and long-term goals?
Short term, long term. Short term goals, I want to continue to put out the message of customer experience. And interestingly, very few people I keep talking to, I see that a lot of people are stumbling into this space. So I definitely want to keep talking about this and see that people are consciously getting into this space and know that this exists as a career path, and as something that we can shape ourselves into. Long term goals. There is so much I am seeing in terms of experiences that I think I can continue to put out information about. So long term, and my long term again will not be 10 years. My long term, considering how the world is evolving, will be 5 years, right? And then 5 years I can do another long term, will be within that short amount of time be able to have very strategic conversations with very key stakeholders in continuing to shape the experiences that we have. There's so much that I am seeing as a person, and when I was introducing myself, I did mention I see everything through those lenses now. There's so much I'm saying that I think that um, my experience, not just as a person, but as a customer, and then also as other people's experience in using that to shape my perception. I'm saying that there is so much information that needs to be put out. There's so much conversations that needs to be had, and it isn't just in a products and service type of way. I'm thinking about it broadly, and I'm beginning to think about things like even the citizens experience, which in some way will still be called CX, right? So I'm beginning to see things in very holistic lenses, and hopefully my short term, long term will be to continue talking about it, to get on stages across the world, and just keep pushing the message of customer experience for entrepreneurs, for small businesses, for large businesses. We must continue to see things through those lenses and the lenses of the customers.
Good luck to your goals, Ms. Abisola, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of reading. It is a lot of reading. I mean, even just yesterday, I was at a customer experience conference, just learning and unlearning. And that's one of the first things I said. There's a lot of learning and unlearning to do, even within this space. So there's a lot of being open minded. There's a lot of conversations that need to be had. So it's really just step into this space, have these conversations, read. There's a lot of, I think maybe that's just my person. It is really just consuming quite a bit of information as much as possible, reports, research, just to see what is being framed, um, what is being shaped in this area, in this sector. What are people saying? What is the research saying? What is the data saying? And see that more and more, even as we embrace the very, very digital age we stand in the middle of, and the season of AI, we would begin to see things strongly, yes, through those digital lenses, but also humanizing the experiences as much as possible. So, yes, for those who are trying to be like me, it's a lot of content to consume, and it's a lot of collaboration that needs to be done within whatever industry you fall under, because I mean this cuts across all industries.
Thank you for that advice, Ms. Abisola. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, so I do have it here. It is Customer Experience: What, How, Why Now by Don Peppers. If you can see that, I think my reflection isn't great, but can you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
So I have this book. I have read it cover to cover, and it is one book that I absolutely love. There's another book that I did come across very recently. I haven't read it yet. I have just read the snippet of it, and I'm probably going to get my hands on it by next week. And it's another one I think that is very good, written by Katie Stabler. So hopefully, when I do get that, I will share that book with the world and what my thoughts are. But that's this one by Don Peppers has really shaped the concept of customer experience. Like I said, I've read it a few times. I would read it again, but then I would also get more resources. But this is my CX Bible at the moment.
So thank you for the recommended books, Miss Abisola. And on vision and opportunity, can you paint a picture of a company that has mastered this? What does a day in a life look like for an employee, and what does a customer journey feel like?
So I'm not going to give name of any company, but I will say I will just give you what a day in the life of a customer experience person can be, and why I wouldn't give a company is for so many reasons. Customer experience in many organizations looks very different. So in some, it will day in the life will require you to go in and do a lot of training. For others, day in the life could be shaping experiences internally. And I do know a few people who the customer experience that they deliver is internal. So what they've done is to turn that the employee experience. I call the employees their first customers. And so everything that they're shaping as a customer experience person, their day in their life will be creating experiences internally for all employees, but they still call their employees their first customers. So day in the life will look different for different companies depending on what their goals are, depending on exactly what they are trying to achieve. But for me, my day in the life is one, I do quite a bit of training. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of training. There is a lot of, hey, this is a solution you have within your space. I'm going to take you through how to use it and how to make this, your experience interacting with the solution a lot better and, just extract as much value. There's that. There's also, people reaching out to say, oh, I've, hit a roadblock here. Could you help me with this? And I'm going in to help. My daily life also consists of looking at updates that come through and doing some curation and making sure that I am taking that back to the customer, say every month after doing quite a bit of curation to say, these are the things that have come through and these are the things that are relevant for you, the solutions that you have within your space. And within the organizations that you can take on. And this is what to expect down the line in, say, in 3 months' time or in 6 months' time. So my daily life is very dynamic. And some days I am I am knee deep in trainings, and other days I am trying to just bring in resources together to be able to take back to my customers to say, this is the thing that is coming through and this is the value that you would get when it eventually comes through. On other days it could look like change management, it could be a solution is coming through. How are we thinking about it? How are we thinking about impact? How are we thinking about the people who will potentially resist? What does resistance look like? It also could be how do we select, say, certain people within your space who are champions, who can push through this vision and what we're trying to do. On other days, it could be how are we just projecting this via comms. On other days, it could be, how are we bringing this new solution and putting that within our intranet. So as much as I like my day in the life to be consistent, it's not very consistent. There's so much happening, and I mean, I wish I could just give a blanket. This is day in the life of a typical customer experience person, but like I mentioned before, organizations are very dynamic and see these things very differently, whether they turn those lenses externally or internally.
Miss Abisola, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season.
Ooh.
I'm a book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season. I'm a food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season. I'm a baby podcast, Law 101 and mental health 101. Love letters in third season and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in fourth season and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its fifth season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Abisola, for a small business or startup, What's the advantage in navigating this shift compared to a large established corporation?
With a small business, you can make your mistakes, and people know that this is a small business. There's a lot of flexibility and and leeway allowed with small businesses because you know that it's probably one person running it, or it's a family business that is running it. You don't have that much flexibility with with larger businesses because the expectations are much different, and there is the human element to it, which, like I said, with a small business you just think, this is one person, this is family, you're more lenient in your expectations. But with larger businesses, your expectations usually go through the roof. You would expect something out of this world from Apple. You definitely are not going to expect that from the mom and pop shop just, a few streets away, right? So
Yes.
those will be different. Those experiences will be different. So small businesses can capitalize on that, make mistakes, grow, and make sure that you iterate those processes very quickly. I mean, because people are going to give you some grace as a small business doesn't mean you obviously want to abuse that, but it really allows you to use those learning moments to grow and to scale. With larger businesses, um, you would have, say, catastrophic experiences once in a while, but it is those ordinary mistakes that happen more often that are ingrained in people's minds. So the very tragic ones don't happen all the time, but it seems like with larger businesses, we are kind of prepared and prepped for that. So, in terms of PR, in terms of how do we manage if this ever happens. But because those happen far and in between, and the ordinary ones happen a lot more often, those are the ones that actually make the dents. So, it's almost like if you're pouring water on a rock and you're just pouring it consistently, yes, it will begin to break. But if you just pour one big one, on a rock, it's not going to make really, any dent or any impact. Even if it does make any impact, it wouldn't be as catastrophic as those little ones that just nagging away gradually, gradually, gradually. So when you think of it that way, the flexibility with the small businesses and with a large expectation with the bigger businesses, you'll begin to see how, again, how humans are and how we can be flexible.
Miss Abisola Fagbiye, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to
My
the
pleasure.
world. Hoping for more and more empowering strategies to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your projects, or anything that you want to promote on Book 101 Review?
Absolutely. You can first catch me on LinkedIn. My name is Abisola Fagbiye on LinkedIn. My website, you can go to that. It is abisolafagbiye.com. I am open to speaking and around the world. So please, if you want me to come and just get on your stage, speak about customer experience. I like to look at it, like I said, from many lenses across multiple industries. I have, taken an affinity for the education space where I'm beginning to see things from three different lenses within that space. But I am open to just speaking across the world about customer experience and how this shapes how we can humanize it, how we shouldn't be so dependent on scripts, giving grace, how we are building trust into the employees and looking at that relationship between the employee experience and the customer experience and overall the human experience.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Abby Solar Fagbiye because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering coaching, speaking, and of course, empowering strategies to come. So, Miss Abby Solar, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It was such a pleasure speaking to you this lovely afternoon. Lovely sunny afternoon, actually.
Lovely, lovely sunny afternoon. More to come, people. See you soon.